Alright guys, today I'm working on my bike. Since I have this CarPlay screen and, really bright lights and everything, and I'm always testing different products on my own personal bike, I do want to upgrade the stator so that I can run this display all the time. Running with just the lights it's fine, but running with the display on also and all the extra stuff I have on this, I need to upgrade the stator. And so what I did is I bought a YZ450 Stator, and I'm going to put it in this. It should be a lot more output than what comes stock on this bike. But anyway, to get started, I basically just removed the skid plate, since the FX comes with a skid plate. And one of the videos I was able to find online, they want you to drain the oil first, but I kind of want to see what happens if I don't. I'm curious if I tip this all the way over on the bike stand, if I'll be able to get this cover off without needing to drain all the oil out of it. I need to change the oil anyway. It's mostly just for your guys' information that I'm doing it this way. But anyway, I'm gonna tip this over onto its side and basically rest it on the throttle grip, essentially, on the bike stand, and then we'll see if I can get that off. I'll also show you the part number and everything of the stator that I bought for this really quick, so let me go grab that. Okay, this is the stator that I bought. There's the part number for all you guys that are curious about it, but basically this is just a Yamaha OEM part. It'll come in the box, look like this, and this is what we need to swap out for. So I'll look at the other stator and see if I can really tell a difference between the two. I'm sure this one might have more copper windings or something. I'm not quite sure, to be honest, so we'll find out together. Okay, first off, I just kind of sprayed this down since my bike mostly really does get ridden at the sand dunes. It's got sand everywhere, like Anakin would say. But anyway, I'm just going to clean off some of this sand, and then we're going to find out if I make a giant mess with oil everywhere. So I'm going to leave this on the ground right under here. If you don't have one of these, go buy one. It's basically just a little screwdriver, but it has just enough torque to get a lot of things off. But what I really like is it has these clutch settings, so you can make sure you don't over torque anything. And also you can just put little impact, whatever you call those, sockets on it. And this one has a magnet on the inside, which is nice for bolts that are magnetic. But anyway, and you can also stick this on to things like this and crack it loose first and then back it all the way out, which it looks like we might have some oil coming out already. Yep, so looks like you do indeed need to drain the oil out of it. So I might just do that really quickly so that I don't make a gigantic mess. But this is one of the two, compartments that you normally have to drain the oil out of. So maybe I will go ahead and do that, since it does look like it's just going to dump oil absolutely everywhere. So I'll be right back after I do that. Okay, now I've got the oil drained out of this. Hopefully it doesn't really make a mess now. We're gonna find out. I'm just gonna go ahead and crack all of these loose. Shifter is a little bit in the way, but I think that we'll be able to get it out without taking that off. Let's see if this comes off separate first. Or something like, oh, it's like a little clip. Okay. So, might be able to just pull those two out. Yeah, there we go. And just kind of drop them back in so that I don't lose them. And this whole cover should just come right off, if I'm thinking correct. out of the way. This is sticking to these bolts a little bit. Let's see if I can save this gasket, because I really don't want to have to screw around with that later. There we go. Looks like I got the gasket off. Sweet. Now, I do need to tip this the other way, so I'm actually gonna just... I think something just dropped. Oh, that dowel pin just fell right here. I'll grab it in just a second. Looks like the other one stayed in place, but anyway, I'm gonna just put these in order. They all look like they're the same length and everything, so shouldn't really be a problem. Sweet. And I am gonna cut that zip tie really quick, just so that it's out of the way, and will give me a little more room to see what I'm looking at. Just don't clip any wiring. Wow, that just really fell out of there. Okay. Well, there's the stator. I'm gonna hang that just for a second while I make sure to grab that little pin before I forget about it, because that would not be ideal. Probably just grab it with these bad boys. There we go. And this just goes right in there. Okay. Let me try to just kind of line this roughly back up so that nothing goes away on me here. All right, so here's the stator. Looks like there's 3 little retainer bolts that are holding this in addition to everything up here. I think the new one has basically all of the wiring that I need. It even has the little rubber gasket piece actually. So I'll go ahead and open this up and check it out. Gonna need a knife for this thing. Oh, just kidding. It was stapled shut. So, as you can tell, this new stator has basically everything already on it. Gotta be careful with those staples. I guess that this is probably magnetic or something. And this looks like it actually has a little bit less windings. I wonder what the science is behind that. This says BNK02. This says BNL00. Should bolt right on though. It looks like pretty much the exact same thing. Just need to swap it out. So we'll check into that, and there are these 2 connectors on it. I'm assuming I'm gonna have to swap those out once I get this on. But for now, set that in a nice and clean place. And while I'm at it, maybe I'll just cover that with a shop towel, because it would really suck to have something like that little bushing fall way up in there somewhere where I can't get to it. So I'm just gonna kind of cover this up long enough for me to do that little swap. Need to find the correct Torx bit. And I will also let you guys know which Torx bit it ends up being. I have a whole bunch right here, so I'm gonna guess it's probably gonna fit one of these. That one is too big. Looking like maybe this one. Okay, it is a T25 Torx bit. I guess I'll probably try and do this by hand before I get all crazy with it. Last thing I want to do is strip that out by using an impact or something dumb like that. So we'll try it with this first. See if I can break it loose. Oh, those must be Loctited in. So it actually might be better to just put the impact on it and be careful. So just keep that in mind as you do this. Let's see if this will get it off. Wow, those things are definitely in there, so be careful. And I'm assuming if they needed to be Loctited the first time, gonna need to Loctite them again. All right, got both of those. Let me get this other one out of here. I'm just gonna kind of leave them on there just for a second while I figure out what to do with these other ones. Those look like little Allen head. Probably can use the same idea. Yep, that'll work. We'll try to get this off. Hopefully it's not too much of a hassle. Those are also Loctited. Okay, we got all of the fasteners off. This should come right out, yep. And I think that this other one should come right out also. And there we go. It looks like there might have been either the gasket, the rubber just transferring, or maybe a very light bit of RTV on that. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. But being where it is, I don't think it necessarily needs RTV. If it leaks, then I'll know later. But anyway, let's go ahead and save these fasteners. Probably need this little plate also. And then I will go ahead and swap this out for the other one. I'm just gonna set that on there for the time being. And let's see, better get some brake clean off all these bolts, and I'm gonna clean out the holes of this just enough that the Loctite will have something to hold on to, and then I'll start putting it all back together. All right, here's that new stator. We'll see how this goes in here. Get that little plate out of the way. But this should be keyed, so there shouldn't be a way for me to do this wrong. But just by looking at it, seems like you're gonna want it to be kind of in this orientation. Yep. Because there's this little wire on here. You want to make sure that that's on there correctly, as you can see inside of there. So you want these wires coming out of the top, and then obviously we'll put this back together how it was. All right, so this has little locator pins. You want to make sure that this little magnet or sensor, whatever this is facing down. And then this little plate is basically to keep the wires from getting eaten up by the opposite end of this. I'll show you in here. So inside of here you have this little guy that's going to be spinning around, and you don't want your wires to be hitting on that. So basically that's what that little thing is for, is to keep your wires from getting chewed to pieces. So basically you're just going to hold that down, and then make sure that these wires are out of the way. A little hard to show you while I'm doing it, but I'll show you when when I have this pretty much done, just kind of have to finagle it a little bit. So just go ahead and thread those on carefully and make sure that you take your time and don't cross thread anything on these. Here we go. Got both of those on. And I'm just gonna inspect and make sure nothing's in the way. That looks good. Tighten it up. And they were real tight before, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do the impact as well. And then I'm gonna try and shove these wires down inside this cavity, basically. Kind of like that, as you can see. Just try to make sure that they're out of the way, because the last thing we want is for something to come apart in here. So now that we've got that done, I'm going to go ahead and reassemble everything. And I'm just going to kind of hold this as I put it back on and kind of go under that shifter like we had to before, and make sure that we get these out of the way. I'm going to just hold that as best as I can and try to line it back up with those dowel pins. That looks good. Make sure that our gasket is on and that I can't see the gasket through any of these holes either. And it looks like I'm on top of this little wire retainer here. So I'm gonna try to get that out of there because we do not want that. Let me try to just, nope. This is a little bit harder than I was expecting for this part. There we go. Now that is on top like it should be. And this will go on with the bolts as well. Just make sure that this is seated down correctly. Looking good. And I do believe this BHR piece goes on underneath these little retainers. So now we can just go ahead and start dropping all these back in. And this one with the O-ring goes right here. There we go. So now they're all kind of just snug, not crazy tight, just snug enough. And then I'm going to go back through with my little T-handle here and finish this off. If I can figure out how this goes all the way through again. Don't remember. I know it does. There we go. Little T-handle basically. And then I'll need my adapter and 8mm. And I just like to do this by hand just because you don't want to over tighten things on bikes. It's real easy to do. I probably could do another pattern on this, but I'm sure it'll be fine. Okay, there we go. Those are tight. Now let me put my stuff back and then figure out what to do with the wiring and get the other one unplugged. Alright, it looks like to get to the wiring for the stator, I am going to have to go remove some of the plastics just to make it a little bit easier. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. You're going to just need a 10mm and an 8mm, like most dirt bike stuff. So got to take off the seat to get to the ones underneath the seat up there. Go ahead and pull that off. And then I'm just gonna put these right back in the holes so I don't lose them. The rest is 8mm. Go ahead and grab the 8 and get these off. I'm thinking only this left side is gonna need to come off, but we will see. I put these radiator braces on, but obviously that's not stock, so you shouldn't have to deal with that. Get that off. Now let's see what we've got here. As far as wiring, let me just look before I go and spout some craziness about how to get this unplugged and plug in the new one. But it does look like it's pretty tucked back in there, to be honest. I might need a light to kind of see what I'm looking at, but it actually, this looks like it's one of them right here. Let me bring you guys in here for this. 1 second here. We'll flip this around. So that one right there looks like it is one of those wires for that stator. As you can see, this is white, and so is the other one. And then this other one is shorter, so it should be up in here somewhere. So I'm gonna find out where that is, and then I'll come back and show you guys exactly what to unplug. Looks like the easiest thing to do to figure out where that other bolt is just removing the radiator mounts and just kind of sliding the radiator over a little bit if possible. There should be just enough slack in it to kind of see what is going on. Might be a little bit tough, but we're gonna find out. Take those both out. There we go. And let's just see where this ends up. It's real tight in here, so it looks like that is where that connector is, oddly enough, and it just came right out. I barely pulled on that and it came right off, so you're just gonna have to do that. And then there is one of those weird little body mounted zip tie deals right under here as well. Just go ahead and clip that without clipping the wires, and you can put a new zip tie in after. So there we go. That is the old stator out completely. I guess you could keep that to sell it to somebody else if theirs went bad or something, or just as a spare in case you did something wrong, I guess. But now I'm gonna need to fish this back out of here just so that I can see and plug it in. So the shorter one will go on to the one that is kind of tucked behind the radiator, and the longer wire will go and plug into the one right below your ignition, essentially. This is really hard because these are covered in like a dust boot, so it's not super easy to get in there, but I got it done. And then we'll just kind of thread this back behind like it was before and pull everything back, tuck it up in there, and we'll plug this guy in right there. There we go. All right, we're in business. Let me just grab one little zip tie for that spot, and then basically we're gonna just put everything back together how it was before, and we'll be pretty much done with this. All right, I got that zip tied back up. The wires are tucked nice and neat behind the radiator, in between the frame and the radiator right here. Make sure that you still have access to your little cold start thing, and then just snug these back up a little bit. Don't worry about this. This is something that I added after the fact. I just need to kind of, you know, tuck this back underneath here since I've been screwing around with it. This is my little starter ignition kill switch thing, basically so people can't just walk off with my bike. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and put all the bodywork back on and fill it back up with oil, and then we'll go and try this thing out. All right, I just went out for a ride. My wife took her X-Max and I took my bike, and before it would only last like about 25-30 minutes before the battery would start to get low with everything running, including the CarPlay screen. And now it lasted the whole time, didn't get low or anything, should be ready to go.